Okay, well this is part 2 of the trial SAC, and where we got to last time was we'd built the interface. It's just opening now, so if you just open the project, and it's got a couple of labels there, one for height and weight, and then we've got a couple of text boxes that we took care to name appropriately. Let me just bring up the properties for that. So that this one here was named, what was it, text box height. This one is text box weight, you can see there. And we've got a little checkbox in here, that imperial. And what we have to do with this stage of the SAC, trial SAC, is we want to be able to enter data, height and weight, as not only meters for height and kilograms for weight, but we want to use imperial measurements of feet for height and pounds for weight. So we've got to change our algorithm a little bit. So if we come into the code again and have a look at where we've got our algorithm here. So let me just get rid of that again. So what we've got is that when we click the button calculate, it goes and gets the user input. If we just go back over this again, converts it from a string to a double, which is a numeric type that has decimal points in it. A decimal point. Then we go and calculate the BMI, and there's the algorithm for the BMI. It's weight divided by height squared. And then we did a selection. We did a bit of a check and said that if the BMI is under 18.5, then we display that in the text, set the color to be blue, and we'd show the BMI as well. If it was under 25, under 30, else, if it was over 30, we'd show this, obese. And so we got to that stage. But what we want to do now is, if the data that they enter here, is, and the checkbox is checked, then we're going to assume that the data is not in kilograms, and that's what this has to be. It has to be weight in kilograms and height in meters. So we're going to actually change that so that if the checkbox is checked, so we'll put it here, if the use imperial checkbox is checked, then we have to convert the values entered from imperial to metric before we do our calculation. So, all right, well, we've got a checkbox, and I think it's called checkbox imperial. So there we go. Now, checkboxes have a way of finding out. Here it is. Here they have a checked attribute, and if the user's clicked in it, then, and the little ticks in it, then checked, if we put a cursor over that, we can see that it's type boolean, which means it's either true or false. If they've checked it, it will be equal to true. If it's unchecked, it will be equal to false. So we can check that ourselves. So we can put an if statement. If checkbox imperial checked equals true, then we need to do the conversion. So we need to convert. Let's convert feet, we'll do the height first, feet to meters. Oops. Put comments in there so I actually know what I'm doing. So to convert from feet to meters, well, that's not too hard. How will we do that? It's, what is it? If we convert from feet to meters, I think it's, it's about 3 feet to a metre or something other, but I probably should look it up. I think it's 3.19 or something like that. 3.28. So if I come back to there, so if I do what they've entered, so if I say height equals height divided by 3.28, that will convert from feet to meters. So whatever they've entered in height, so if they enter 6 in there, 6 in the height weight box, we'll assume that that's feet divided by 3.28 and store it into height again. then we know that when we get to the other side of this, that the height will be in meters. And we can do the same with weight. So weight, oops, let's try that again. Weight equals weight, and this looks strange to a lot of mathematicians, divided by, and it's 2.2 pounds to the kilo. So whatever they've entered in pounds, if I divide it by 2.2, I'll get kilos. So convert pounds to kilos. All right, there we go. So now, by the time we get out to the end here, I know that that's actually still going to be, no matter what they've entered there, it's going to actually enter that there. Now we need to test this. So we should get some data to test it. And the easiest way to test it will be to enter the same value for your own height and weight in both pounds and feet and kilograms and meters. And it should produce exactly the same result. So we can do that manually. But also one thing we should do to make the design a little more intuitive to users and actually a little bit more helpful is that we probably should, in these text boxes here, write what they should be entering, what type of data. And I'll drag those across because I'm a design guru. Okay, so we can do that. If we double click on the checkbox, as we did with the button, it will create a method for us that when they click the checkbox, it will actually run. So we can actually do that. If I actually do debug, console, wrong language, console.write, and if I just do write, what is it, checkbox imperial dot checked. There we go. So if I just write that there, and if I put a I don't even have to put a stop point in it. If I run that, you'll see that when I click in there, we should get some output down here in the console when it finally runs. So waiting. Okay, here it goes. So I'm just going to drag this window up so I can see the output there. If I come back into this, when I click on the checkbox, I should set true because it's checked. If I click again, it's false. True, false. You get the picture. So now I should be, and actually we probably should test this while we're here. Let's try this. So I'm about 188 and 83. So I'm not using imperial. So there we are, 23.48347. Remember that. 1.88 is about 6 feet. 6.25, no, 6.2 feet, and what would it be, pounds? Well, 170 pounds, let's try that, and use imperial, so it should be about 23.4, well, so close, but we can see that that works. If I did that in this one, it's definitely not working because it's assuming I'm 6.2 meters tall, which is very tall, and 170 kilos, which whilst heavy is not heavy for a giant, I'm guessing. So anyway, so what we can do in here, let's comment this out. So we don't really want it to do that. Let's get rid of it entirely. We can get rid of that. But what we do want to do is we want to check to see if, again, we'll just do this, checkbox, if check box imperial dot checked equals true, well, we want to do checkbox, I beg your pardon, we want to do height text box, what is it, txt box height dot text, we'll put some text in there, equals, if it's checked, they're going to be using feet. Alright, and we also want to put text box weight dot text, oops, equals weight will be in pounds. The Americans use feet and pounds. I don't know whether anybody else does still. Oh, the British, maybe, not sure. Else if it's not checked, well, guess what? It's unchecked. So we don't need to check that. And I'm just going to put this. I'm going to copy that, stick it down in here. And if it's not checked, I'm going to get it to say meters for height and kilograms for weight. There we go. Now, so if I run that again, now there's still going to be a bit of a problem with the way this works, in that you'll notice when it starts up, it doesn't say anything, but if I check it, now it's going to say feet and pounds, meters and kilograms, feet and pounds again. So what we should do is give it a default value to start with. And because our default is that it's unchecked, so in this one, I'm going to come across and put some text in there. Show the properties again. I'm going to put the text in there for the height in meters. And for the weight, I'm going to put kilograms. There we go. Easy. Too easy. Works fine. So if we start that again. Now, there's still a bit of formatting to go, but we should see that, there we go, it's working fine. So if I put it in meters, I know I've got to do in meters. I don't even have to check this unchecked. I put in 2 meters and 100 kilograms, calculate overweight, 2 meters, 100 kilograms, what's that, about 2 meters would be about 6.5, 6 feet, 6 inches, so about 6.5, and 100, what would that be, 220, using imperial, calculate, hey, perfect. Now I've got we've got a problem there. We do have an error, but I'm not going to worry about that. The error is that if we don't enter a number, then it won't actually work. And there is a way around it. We could actually, we can, and we will in the next one. But that should be pretty good up to there. We probably also want it to exclude some silly heights. We want to say, listen, if your height's over a certain amount or your weight's over a certain amount, then we probably should say that, no, are you sure that's crazy? So if we only do it after we've converted to metric, then we can simply do this. We can put in an if statement and say if height, and we're just going to ask it, if the height is greater than, let's say, how tall, 2.5 meters, that's pretty tall, or is the 2 pipe symbols there, that's shift and the one just below backspace, or height is less than, height is greater than 2.5, not less than, height is greater than 2.5, or height is less than 1 meter, let's say that. Well then we're going to say, we're going to send it a message. Message box dot show, we'll just get it to show a message, show, and there are lots of options we can have with this, but one thing was you can just show a string, check weight or check height, entered. And we could do other things as well. We could put the where it's from, the name of the window, BMI calculator, so it knows which program's sending the message. And we could also put in there message box buttons. We could do OK, and we could also put in an icon, message box icon. Let's do information, not an error. Right, so, and then we've got to put a semicolon there. So now if they enter an incorrect height, it'll show a message. And we can put another one too. If weight is greater than, I don't know, in kilos, if weight's greater than 200 kilos, you're probably not really probably, I don't know, might be in trouble there. Or if your weight is less than, say, let's say 20 kilos if it's a really young child. It probably won't give a good reading anyway. And I'm just going to do the same thing with that message box. You can just copy and paste it. Message box, I'm just going to copy and paste it. And paste it there. Alright, and then I'm just going to change the message. Instead of check height, check weight. Alright, so then, alright, so let's run that and see what happens. Because we don't want it to give use data that's just silly. So if I put in 3 meters tall and I don't know, 250 kilos and calculate, it's got a message, check height entered and check weight entered. Okay, so but then it actually goes and does the calculation anyway, which is not what we want. We want it to actually, if the data's incorrect, then your algorithm shouldn't actually run. You shouldn't actually do anything else. So I might actually do this. Else if, so if your height's wrong, else if your weight is wrong, if either one is wrong, we want you to check your data. But if they're wrong, else, we'll do an else. But if they're not wrong, we know that they're both right. If neither of them are wrong, we know they're both right. So I'm going to put in an else statement, and I'm going to put everything else inside it. So there are 2 brackets that it's closed, open there, but I actually want all of this code to go inside it. You know, that's going to do all my checking for me and do all the output. So easy way to do it, let's delete that one, and then very carefully come right the way down to the end here. You'll notice it's saying there's an error. At the end of my else if statements, where I do the obese one, the end of that bracket there that pairs with the else, I'm going to put in another bracket there. And all of the code, there we go. And we know that it's correct because all the code's indented. So, if the height's wrong, it'll tell you. Else if the weight's wrong, it'll tell you. We might actually, why don't we, instead of just saying height, check data, check your height. No, we'll leave it there. Check your weight. Check your height. That'll do. Alright, so if I run that again now, we should find that unless you enter correct details, it won't actually work. Alright, so let's do let's do 3 meters again, and 300 kilograms. Calculate. Check the height entered, and it doesn't do anything. So we can't do anything. So if I do, let's do 2 meters, which is okay, but the weight's still wrong. But check the weight entered. Okay. So if I do 100, calculate, works fine. Now what happens if I change to imperial? Alright, and I put in, I'm 7 feet tall and I'm 300 pounds. I think 333 pounds. Whoa! 7 feet, okay. You do get 7 feet tall people. American basketball players. Let's make it 8 feet. Calculate. Whoa, still working. Okay, now we're getting a sense of how big that height is. Okay, alright, check the height entered. So we can do people who are extraordinarily tall. Maybe we need to tone that down a little bit. We should also do something about this, the way it's actually set out here. We don't need all those decimal points there. What we can do is we can actually round that. So what we can do is we might want to put height 2.5 meters. Let's make it 2.2 meters, something like that. But this is probably a bit wrong. We probably don't need that many decimal places. So why don't we just trim that down and say, all right, let's the maths class has got a round thing in it. So what we can do is we can put this whole formula inside a math thing called round. So what we'll do is just do math dot round, or is there a round? Round, here we go, round, yeah. And I'll put a bracket and it says, okay, you've got to give me a decimal place, but there's a few other options here. Decimal place, right, a decimal place and the number of decimals that you want me to round it to. So, well, we've got a decimal. This will give us a decimal, we know that. because it's storing it in BMI. So I've got a decimal, and let's make it round to 2 decimal places, and then we've got to put another bracket. So as with maths, any maths, you start with the inside brackets. So what I've got here, I'm getting rid of those so you can see it a bit better. So what I've got is here it works out my calculation. There's the inside bracket. And then it says, okay, that'll make a decimal. And then it uses that decimal to 2 decimal places and stores it in BMI. So now, if I run that again, it should start to look a bit better. Yeah, so if I put 2 meters and 100 kilos, calculate, there we are, 25 and overweight. If I change that to be, say, 97, this should there, and it only prints out 2 decimal places. Now there's still a bit of problem with the formatting there, I'd reckon, but that's okay. It's looking alright. There's nothing great going on about it. We could probably change the size of the font and things, but that's the end of that SAC, and that's the SAC that you need to use to build on to complete the full SAC itself. So you need that file completed. Okay.